You think you know Chicago, the skyline, the deep dish pizza, the wind off Lake Michigan that cuts through you like a knife. But there is another Chicago, one that exists just underneath the surface of the one you think you know. A Chicago of unmarked graves and forgotten screams, of murders that were never solved and souls that were never set free. Chicago is the most haunted major city in the United States of America. Not because of one terrible event, but because of dozens of them, stacked on top of each other like the layers of the city itself, built on swampland, built on burial grounds, built on the bones of people who were never supposed to be forgotten, but were. In 1871, the Great Chicago Fire killed hundreds and destroyed the city. In 1893, a serial killer named H.H. Holmes built a hotel specifically designed to trap and murder his guests. In the 1920s and 1930s, the Chicago mob ruled these streets with a level of violence that left bodies in alleys that were never fully accounted for. Layer after layer after layer of death and pain and unfinished business, all of it sitting right beneath your feet every time you walk through this city. Today we go inside the three places where that pain never stopped, where the dead never rested, where something is still waiting for you to walk through the door. Keep the lights on. You are going to need them. Place number 1, 63rd Street and Wallace Avenue, the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago. There is a post office here now. A perfectly ordinary post office. People mail letters here. People pick up packages here. People stand in line and check their phones and think about what they are having for dinner. And they have absolutely no idea what happened on this exact piece of ground 130 years ago. Because this is where H.H. Holmes built his murder castle. Let that sink in for a moment. A man built a castle designed specifically to murder the people inside it. Herman Webster Mudgett, known to the world as H.H. Holmes, America's first documented serial killer. In 1893, Chicago hosted the World's Fair. Millions of visitors flooded into the city from across the country and around the world. Holmes saw an opportunity. He built a 3-story hotel just blocks from the fairgrounds. But this was not a normal hotel. Holmes designed every single detail himself. Rooms that could be sealed airtight from the outside, gas pipes running into the walls that Holmes controlled from a panel in his own bedroom, a chute that ran from the upper floors directly down to the basement, a basement that contained a surgical table, acid vats, lime pits, a kiln large enough to cremate a human body. He lured his guests in with charm, with good looks, with promises of employment or romance or a fresh start in the big, exciting city. And then, when the doors closed behind them at night, they did not open again from the inside. How many people Holmes killed inside that building will never be fully known. He confessed to 27 murders. Most historians believe the true number was closer to 200. 200 people who walked through that door looking for a new beginning and found something else entirely. The building burned down in 1895, but the people who lived and worked in the neighborhood for generations after reported things that could not be explained. Cold spots on the sidewalk where the building used to stand, the smell of something burning with no source, the sound of someone crying coming up from the ground itself, and the feeling. Anyone who stood on that corner for too long described the same thing. The feeling that someone was watching them from somewhere very close and very below. The post office workers who work here today say they do not know the history of the ground their building sits on, but some of them have stopped going into the basement alone because of the sounds. They cannot explain the sounds, and they have stopped trying. Place number 2, 7201 Manheim Road, just outside Chicago, the town of Justice, Illinois, Resurrection Cemetery, and the most famous ghost in the entire city of Chicago, Resurrection Mary. Her story begins in the 1930s. A young Polish girl, beautiful, full of life, who loved to dance more than anything in the world. One winter night, she went dancing at a ballroom called the O. Henry, just down the road from the cemetery. She had a fight with her boyfriend. She stormed out into the cold night and began walking home alone along Archer Avenue. She never made it. She was struck by a car in the darkness and killed. She was buried in Resurrection Cemetery in the white dancing dress she had been wearing that night, with her dancing shoes still on her feet. And that should have been the end of her story, but it was only the beginning. Since the 1930s, thousands of people have reported the same encounter on Archer Avenue outside this cemetery. A young woman, blonde hair, white dress, standing alone on the side of the road in the cold, hitchhiking. Drivers pull over to help her. She gets in. She is quiet, beautiful, sad. She asks them to drive along Archer Avenue, and as they approach the gates of Resurrection Cemetery, she asks them to stop the car. She gets out. She walks toward the cemetery gates, and she passes right through them. Not opens them, through them. And she is gone. Drivers have stopped their cars in shock and confusion and run to the gates to look. The cemetery is empty. There is no one there. But in 1976, something happened that cannot be explained away as imagination or mistaken identity. The iron gates of Resurrection Cemetery were found bent and twisted from the inside, with what appeared to be handprints burned into the metal. Small handprints. A young woman's handprints. The cemetery director claimed a truck had accidentally backed into the gates and bent them. But the handprints, no truck made those handprints. The gates were replaced, but people still see her every winter, every year, standing on the side of Archer Avenue in the cold, in the white dress, waiting for a ride home, to a home she will never reach because she has been trying to get home for almost 90 years. And Archer Avenue is as close as she ever gets. And place number 3, 520 South Michigan Avenue, the Congress Plaza Hotel, one of the most beautiful buildings on the Chicago skyline, opened in 1893 for the World's Fair, the same World's Fair that brought H.H. Holmes and his murder castle to Chicago. Over 130 years of history inside these walls. Presidents have stayed here. Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Franklin D. Roosevelt, celebrities, dignitaries, the most powerful people in American history have slept in these rooms, but so have others. People who checked in and never checked out. The most famous permanent resident of the Congress Plaza Hotel is known simply as Peg Leg Johnny, a homeless man who in the early 1900s somehow found his way into the hotel and lived there in secret for weeks. When he was finally discovered and confronted by staff members, he panicked, he ran, he fell down the elevator shaft and died. His ghost is seen throughout the hotel to this day, limping through the corridors at night. The sound of his uneven footsteps heard on floors where no guests are staying. But Peg Leg Johnny is not the most disturbing presence in this building. The Gold Room, the Congress Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom. Chandeliers, marble floors, gold leaf walls, the most beautiful room in the building, and the room where staff members refuse to work alone after dark. The piano in the Gold Room plays by itself, not occasionally, regularly. Staff arriving in the morning have found the piano bench pushed out as if someone just stood up from it. Keys depressed, with no hands on them. Music playing with no musician present. A woman in a red dress has been seen dancing alone in the center of the Gold Room at midnight. She dances in perfect silence to music no one else can hear. And when anyone enters the room, she simply stops and looks at them and fades. Room 441 on the 4th floor has been permanently closed by the hotel management for decades. The official reason given is that the room needs renovation. The room has needed renovation for over 40 years. Former staff members who worked at the hotel tell a different story. A mother checked into room 441 in the 1930s with her 2 young children. She threw them out of the window, and then herself. The children survived. She did not. And room 441 has not been rented to a guest since, because of what happens in that room at night. The sounds, the crying, the window opens by itself. In a room that has been locked and empty for 40 years, the window opens and stays open, as if someone is standing there, looking down, still trying to understand what she did and what she cannot undo. 3 places. A post office built on the ground where America's first serial killer murdered up to 200 people and disposed of them in acid, in a basement that still sits somewhere beneath your feet if you walk to that corner today. A cemetery road where a dead girl in a white dancing dress has been trying to get home since the 1930s and has not made it yet. A grand hotel on Michigan Avenue where a piano plays itself in the dark. A woman in red dances alone at midnight. And a room on the 4th floor has been locked shut for 40 years because the window keeps opening by itself. Chicago, the city of wind, the city of fire, the city of jazz, and deep dish, and the most beautiful skyline in the Midwest, and the city of the dead who never left. They are in the ground beneath your feet. They are in the rooms above your head. They are on the roads you drive at night when you think you are alone. You are never alone in Chicago. You just cannot always see who is with you. Drop a comment right now. Which one of these 3 places would you actually go to alone? The corner where the murder castle stood, Archer Avenue at midnight looking for Resurrection Mary, or room 441 of the Congress Plaza Hotel? One night, no phone, no lights. Tell me which one, and subscribe right now, because video is coming, and it goes to a place that makes Chicago look like a children's story. You have been warned. Again.